They love to mislead Canadians, painting a rosy picture that we've never had is so good. Tell that to the people in my riding who are lining up in record numbers at food banks. Tell that to a struggle. And stop the heckling. Stop the heckling.
Resuming debate.
Gang, what's up? Aaron, Canadian Looney. We'll get right back to Larry Brock here in a minute. He is going to lose his composure a bit on Kevin Lamoureux. Who else? First, we're going to watch Chris Warkentin, who is the Conservative whip. We don't see this guy in the House of Commons speaking very often, but he is going to hammer down Kevin Lamoureux as well. He's a real problem in the House of Commons. All he ever does is mislead, divide, distract Canadians, push a liberal propaganda mandate to take away what we have from you into their bank accounts. It's simple as that. Let's kick it off here with Chris Warkentin. He is one to watch, and then we're going to check out Larry Brock. It gets hostile. Let's check it out. Let's go.
How many kids did you molest with Jeffrey Epstein?
Who cares?
A democracy is no longer a democracy if some citizens or corporations can evade the law without parliamentary say. This is a power grab, Madam Speaker. It's not progress, and it stinks. Now let's talk about the man at the top, Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister. The golden boy of global finance is now supposed to be Canada's champion. But here's the kicker. He still has skin in the game with Brookfield Asset Management. Share options, deferred units, and potentially tens of millions in carried interest from funds that he set up. Payments that will mature in 2032 and 2034, long after he's maybe even out of office. He chaired the board, launched their green transition funds, and this is where Brookfield will win big. Carnage will cash in.
Knows we cannot use current members' names in the chamber.
You're right, Madam Speaker. The Prime Minister will cash in.
Hold the member on the point of order, yes?
Yeah.
The
honourable member for Hamilton.
Continuing to make false and defamatory statements against an identifiable member.
That is a matter for debate, and I'm not going to rule on that. The honourable member for
Madam Speaker, it's not just me that's calling out this bill for what it is. Democracy Watch called it a direct and significant financial conflict.
And I'm sorry, we're way over time. Questions and comments. The Honourable Parliament Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I found it very distasteful. In fact, quite frankly, when I listened to what the member said, he wants to feed into some sort of anger and generate anger. There is no corruption. There's a lot of transparency. There's a whole lot of accountability. Maybe the Conservative Party needs to look in the mirror, quite frankly. Because if they really and truly believed half of what they said, this bill would have passed to a committee stage where it could have been broken down, where you would have numerous standing committees dealing with it. There's nothing that's being hidden here other than a Conservative agenda which is purely self-interested, where they have character assassination and make allegations that they cannot support. Madam Speaker, it's disgusting, and the member should be ashamed of himself.
The member for Grande Prairie.
Well, Madam Speaker, you know when you are above the target. When they send in the member from Winnipeg North to yell and scream and claim that he's hard done by. That's when we know that we're hovering over the target. Madam Speaker, I have met with families that can no longer afford to pay for the essentials. Heartbreakingly, it's a larger number than ever. And the honourable member will know these same stories. But I can tell you that what they also see is a free pass given again and again under these Liberals to their corporate friends, massive bail. He says, prove it, Madam Speaker. He's heckling, prove it. I can tell the honourable member. You look at the Stellantis contract. Was there a protection for Canadians as the Liberals dished out billions of dollars for their corporate friends? Absolutely not. When you look at the Algoma deal, 1,000 layoffs this past week, hundreds of millions of dollars being handed over to the company with no guarantee for the 1,000 people that have lost their job, Madam Speaker. What we see under this Liberal Party again.
Question.
Oh, yeah. So a little bit of a surprise that a guy like Chris Warkentin, the Conservative whip, isn't in front of the cameras often enough. But here's a guy that we do enjoy watching on camera. Larry Brock is going to mop the floor with Kevin Lamoureux, who's an embarrassment from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Shameless. Let's watch Larry Brock rock him.
Under this Prime Minister, Canada has now one of the weakest growth performances in the G7. Productivity is collapsing, and business investment is falling quarter after quarter. Nearly 1 in 5 part-time workers want full-time hours but cannot find them because the jobs simply are not there. Last month alone, Canada lost 9,400 full-time jobs. At the same time, nearly 30,000 Canadians over the age of 55 were forced into part-time work over the past year, with 10,000 just in the last month, as rising grocery bills push seniors back into the workforce. This is what an affordability crisis looks like on a pay stub. Canadians don't need accounting tricks, they need paychecks that they can live on. Let's talk about the daycare failure. For young families trying to raise children in Canada, the problem gets even worse. The government loves to point out the $10 day daycare as a flagship success. But for families who can't find a space or are still paying double that, the branding means nothing. Half of parents now report difficulty finding childcare. Nearly 1/3 of families are on wait lists. Over 3/4 of centres have wait lists, and 86% cannot find staff. Even the Auditor General confirmed that $10 a day promise is not the reality many families experience. Once again, this government announces a photo op and fails to deliver. The Prime Minister also promised to negotiate a win with the United States. Elbows up. Since that promise, tariffs have doubled, negotiations have stalled, and foundational industries face collapse. At Algoma Steel, 1,000 workers lost their jobs after $400 million in Liberal subsidies with no job guarantees. At Crofton, 375 workers lost their livelihoods. Last week, Canadians were also giving a stunning glimpse of how casually this government handles billions of taxpayer dollars when it was revealed that the Minister of Industry never even read the contract that handed $15 billion in subsidies to Stellantis, a deal she later defended after the company announced 3,000 job cuts. Think about that. $15 billion committed, thousands of workers laid off, and the minister responsible never reviewed the agreement. Complete and utter incompetence. That single moment says everything about this government's approach. No diligence before the check is written, no accountability after workers lose their jobs, and no consequences for those who sign away billions without even reading the fine print. When the government claimed it was separating operating and capital spending, Canadians were warned the books were being cooked. The Parliamentary Budget Officer confirmed exactly that. Capital investment was inflated by $94 billion. True capital spending is 30% lower than claimed. Corporate subsidies were falsely counted as investment. The operating budget will not balance itself for at least 5 years. The debt to GDP ratio is rising again. The new fiscal anchor has only a 7.5% chance of being met. Even with claimed savings, total new spending still rises $90 billion. That translates to $5,400 per family. Even the Fitch ratings warn that this budget erodes Canada's fiscal credibility. The Prime Minister also promised 500,000 new homes per year. The PBO exposed the real truth. Only 5,200 homes per year will be added. Build Canada Homes will construct just over 1,600 units annually. Rents will rise to over $2,000 per month for a 2-bedroom unit. Instead of restoring the dream of home ownership, the Liberals are forcing Canadians into permanent renting status. Before this budget, Conservatives offered a clear, responsible plan and solution. Bring down the deficit to the level the Liberals promised, scrap the hidden taxes on food, end the inflation tax by cutting government waste, restore housing supply by cutting red tape and development charges. Every single one was rejected. Madam Speaker, this is how the most expensive Prime Minister this country has ever had, and Canadians are paying the bill at the grocery store, at the rent counter, and on their credit cards. Every dollar they spend comes from Canadian pockets. The more they spend, the higher food costs rise, the higher rent rises, the higher interest payment rises. Canadians now spend more on debt interest than on health care transfers. Conservatives will not and cannot support this costly budget. We will continue to fight for an affordable budget, paychecks that beat inflation, home peoples can buy, food families can afford, and an economy that rewards hard work again. Canadians have simply sacrificed enough after 10 years of failed leadership. It is time to end the Liberals' out-of-control spending and bring home an affordable budget for all Canadians. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Permanent Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. As you know, just a number of months ago, Canada elected a new Prime Minister, a new government, and I tell you, when I reflect in terms of what it is that the member has actually said, he makes and raises concerns about jobs. You know, in the last 3 months, we've seen in excess of 50,000 jobs created in each of the last 3 months. That is the reality of it. And when you talk about productivity, and the Conservatives have been talking a lot about productivity, one of the greatest gains in productivity is in our manufacturing industry. And of course, they don't reference those sorts of things. But my real beef with the Conservative Party of Canada today is how self-serving they are in regards to their own political best interest. We just had another member that stood up and spoke about the bail reform legislation and somehow tried to imply that it was the Liberals that were preventing it. Whether it's the budget bill or it's the bail reform bill, Canadians understand and need to know that it is the Conservative Party of Canada that's preventing its passage. Will you not please say the truth on that matter?
The Honourable Member for Brantford, Brent South, Six Nations.
The level of hypocrisy coming from that member, Madam Speaker, is absolutely through the roof. I am a proud member of the Justice Committee. I'm the Vice Chair of the Justice Committee, and he should be absolutely ashamed, and every member of the Liberal government ashamed at what is happening at the Justice Committee. Stalling, filibustering, canceling meetings without notice at the very last minute, not scheduling any meetings this week, the very last week of our sitting. Wow. They don't have the audacity to put together a meeting. So he needs to look himself in the mirror and say, we have failed Canadians. We are not delivering on the promise of bail reform because we are dragging our heels.
Here, here.
The
Honourable Member for Laurentides-Labelle. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think it's time we took a break. The Honourable Member for Laurentides-Labelle has the floor. She has a question to ask, so would people make it possible for everyone to hear? The Honourable Member. I wanted to say something positive. It's the World Cup in Mont-Tremblant, and Valérie Grenier was on the podium. She won the bronze. And that's someone from Laurentides-Labelle, so it always does some good to hear something positive. So I think I'd just take this a little, it'll be good for us to take a little break, eat some turkey, and when we come back, we can look at the 634 pages of the budget. But meanwhile, I'd like to hear from my colleague. With this Carnage oil shift, you're not allowed to say a member's name. Sorry, Madam Speaker. I'd like my colleague to explain if he's going to keep voting against the budget when we know that the current Prime Minister has really shifted in favor of oil and gas. The Honourable Member for Brantford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for that question, and I offer my congratulations to the member and her riding for that stellar performance and that win. On the issue of the Prime Minister flip-flopping, the Prime Minister wrote a book called Values. He was absolutely against everything that he is promising now to Canadians. So spare me, with all due respect to my friend, I have some deep reservations as to his true motive. Is this ultimately going to benefit Brookfield in the end? Because wherever he goes, 4 times around the world, meeting with world leaders and stakeholders in Canada and stakeholders in the U.S., Brookfield is not too far behind. He's always at the ready to take a phone call. So I really question his sincerity with everything that he has announced so far.
The honourable member for Swift Current, Grasslands Kindersley.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And earlier in the chamber, we had a member accuse one of our members of misinformation. And this is a continuing trend that we see with the Liberals. Conservatives bring facts to the debate. And if the Liberals don't believe us, all they got to do is open a newspaper or read the news on their phone or watch TV. Because we get a lot of our facts and information from that. But it's also from all the research and the hours that we spend doing the research, Madam Speaker. We work very hard on doing this. And yet they get up here and try to gaslight Canadians by saying, oh, they're deliberately spreading misinformation, but yet they never say what we said was wrong. Well, I wonder if the member actually could provide some insight as to why he thinks that they would want to do that.
A member for Brantford, Brent, South Six Nations.
Because that's their formula. They love to mislead Canadians, painting a rosy picture that we've never had is so good. Tell that to the people in my riding who are lining up in record numbers at food banks. Tell that to a struggle. And stop the heckling. Stop the heckling.
Resuming debate. The honourable member for Battlefords, West Lloydminster.
Oh, yeah. We'll wrap it up right there, gang. Aaron, Canadian Looney. Like, share, subscribe, get notified. We cover Canadian federal politics, the front line. We cover legacy media as well, but mostly it's from Parliament. Anyhow, like, share, subscribe. That's it. Trying to learn and share with you all about Canadian federal politics. Watch one of the other videos floating around here. Maybe you'll learn something. Who knows? We're just showing what is really happening in Canadian federal politics these days. Thanks again for watching. Catch you in the next video. Ciao for now.